Hi, this is Mike again. In this tutorial, I'm going to go over one of the coolest features of Nearpod, and that's their subplan portal. So just a little bit more of an orientation to the Nearpod dashboard. This is where many of my previous videos started with the create button and then creating new lessons and then adding content and activities to those lessons. If you're not familiar with that, please visit bit.ly/JordanETMS and then go to the Nearpod content. There's an introduction video and then how to add all of the content to your library. So this is your personal library. These are the things that you're going to add, and up at the top it says My Lessons. So when you click My Lessons, these are all the lessons that are included. Now, if you want to use the Nearpod library, you come down here to Nearpod library, and then you can add lessons into your lessons. So in order to use those lessons, you have to actually add them from the Nearpod library. You can't go to the Nearpod library and then add lessons from there. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that as we go. So what you need to have when you go into the subplans is you need to have the plan already ready to go in your My Lessons. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go to the Nearpod library and we're going to kind of look for some subjects, and then we're going to look for ones that have this item here. So if we look at this, let me just highlight this real quick. So right here, this one, it says causes of the French Revolution. Um, so you'll notice that I have two copies of it. One copy says optimized for use in student pace mode, and one doesn't. Now, when we go to pick a lesson plan or a pre-done lesson plan, we need to make sure that it has optimized for use in student pace mode, simply because that will be a lesson that students can just complete by themselves. They don't need to interact with other students. They don't need to do some of the other things that might not be available to them in terms of completing the lesson. So there's a lot of like interactive content on the regular version, and a lot of content the students can just get themselves. They don't have to rely on other students. It also doesn't put the sub in an awkward position of trying to put groups together and things like that. Oftentimes, subs aren't, either willing or capable of doing that step. So what we want to do is we want to add the lesson, and then so we're going to complete that step first. We're going to go to the Nearpod library, and they have tons and tons of lessons. It's great. So what we want to do is we want to search for a subject in the Nearpod library. Let me see if there's anything on the Vietnam War. Okay, and so there looks like tons of activities on the Vietnam War. So we're just going to go ahead and scroll down, and it looks like there's a lot of kind of crash course content. And what we're really looking for up here on the left, this is Nearpod specific content, and then there's other ones that have the History Channel logo. Just kind of have to like weed out what you might want from the lesson. Now, if we scroll through this and we don't see the student paced icon, then what we need to do is we just need to review the lesson to make sure that it's a lesson that's capable of being presented by a sub. So I'm just going to click on this first one. It says Social Studies, the Vietnam War Introduction. So we're going to look at this one. And now what we do is we have a chance to preview this lesson. So we're just going to make sure um, that the content of this lesson looks like it's able to be completed by the sub. Okay. So there's a beginning question. I'm just going to scroll through this real quick. Okay, and make sure that the activities. Okay. So here's a poll. Okay, there's a collaborative board. It looked like the collaborative board was kind of like a pre-learning situation. There's a video. So let's say we go through and we find that this particular lesson works for us. Then what we can do is we can come down here and we can go add to my lessons. So you can search the library, you can find a lesson that you want that will work for your sub, and then you go add to my lessons. And then what you can do is you can click show in my lessons. Okay. And now we have the option of going to live participation or student pace, but we're not going to use it for that. We're going to use this for a sub plan. So then what we want to do is we want to come back here to Nearpod, the My Lessons screen, and what we'll notice is that the Vietnam War lesson plan is now added to my library. So this is the key step to getting the content into your library. So now we can use it for a sub plan. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can just create the lesson yourself. As long as the lesson is in my lessons, right here, you can see my lessons. As long as that lesson is in my lessons, you can use it for a subplan. Now let's get to the cool stuff. So if we click on subplans and we go new subplan, okay, and I'm just gonna label this test subplan number 2. Nom or okay, and then I create the shell. Now the shell is done. Now all I have to do is just add the lesson. So start adding lessons, and you can see it says search my library, and it looks like it includes items that are in the school library as well as my personal lessons. So if I scroll all the way down, it's going to have my lessons from my little library. So from my home screen, if I scroll all the way down, you can see that the lessons are there. So the one that I added, the Vietnam War, that's the one we decided to pick. I'm going to select it and I'm going to add. Okay, so what does your substitute need to know about this lesson? And I can put students will write an essay based on information. Oops, spelled that wrong. Information learned. Okay, so now the sub has kind of an idea of what the students are going to be using this information for. Now I get to choose down here how many lessons, or I'm sorry, how many classes should get the lesson. So if you have all the same prep, you're going to pick 6 classes. You just pick the number of classes so a code is generated for each one. I'm just going to pick 1 for now. Okay, so this subplan, test subplan number 2, Vietnam War, here's the subplan. Now that the plan is ready to go, all I have to do is come up here to subplan dashboard, okay? And you'll notice that the first subplan right here, that content is ready. I just made that one as a test a couple of minutes ago. I can view that one, but then what I want to do is I want to be able to send this subplan to Kim Langer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click send subplan. Okay, and then I get this cool format. So it has the subplan name, and then right here, all I have to do is which day is it going to be due. The key to this is just double clicking. So if I'm going to be out tomorrow, and this subplan is for March 11th, just assuming that I'm out Thursday, March 11th, I'm going to click it once, and I'm going to click it again, and then that's the date of the absence. Okay, so then what you're going to do for the contact information is you're going to go Miss, and then Kim Langer, and then her email, Langer, lbschools.net. Now, if you wanted to send the sub plan to somebody else, and you wanted to use our email Outlook to find it, an easy way to do that is to come up here to the person. So if I go K Langer, that's why I wanted to send it to. Their full school email comes up at the top. You can highlight it and then paste it in. But I've written Kim's email down so many times, I know it by heart. So I have her prefix, her name, and then her role, sub coordinator. Okay, and so what it's going to do is it's going to send this pre-done sub plan to Kim. So when the sub arrives at the school, they have it. And what's cool about this is that it also creates a printable copy of the sub plan. So if the class doesn't have Chromebooks, for instance, then the students can also get a paper copy of the lesson. So that makes it pretty cool. So if you know your sub, you can also put the sub contact info here, and then that will send the information to the sub. If you don't, it's not necessary. Then you have the option to put class notes and emergency procedures. So if you have information that the sub should know, like make sure that you open up the laptop and turn the projector on this way or that way. You can also upload a file. So you can see a JPG or PDF with any additional info. You can put whatever you want so the sub knows what's going on. Now the school information is already filled out. You can see that it says David Starr Jordan High School. It's actually pre-filled out my address. Um, but the name of the school comes up. You don't really need, I guess, the address, but if you wanted to put it in, you could. Then the last thing that you want to do is you want to save it, or what you can do is you can put send subplan. So as soon as I click the send subplan, it's going to set it right to Kim. I've already bugged her a couple of times with tests on this earlier, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to save it. And now what we can see is we can see that the subplan is ready, and then all I would have to do is just send it and then come down here and click send subplan. That will send the subplan to Kim, and that's really it. So once she has it, all she has to do is pass it on to the sub, and then you're good to go. So that makes this a really really cool thing, especially in a pinch where you can use Nearpod Library items to fill your subplan. So that's super cool. It saves a lot of time. Just keep in mind that you can also make your own subplan. And if you make your own, you just follow the same exact procedure. All right, you click new subplan, and then when you create a name, um, the library will come up. Okay, add lessons, and then the library comes up, and then there'll be a lot from the school library, but also too is your lessons will appear at the bottom. You just follow that same procedure, and then you're good to go. So if you have any questions on creating subplans, go ahead and email me, and hopefully that'll be a useful portion of Nearpod that'll make our lives easier for subs.